Hello, welcome to Horario. My name is SAIMEDHA and I'm going to teach you English for class 10. So here we are in the second session of the story Adventures in a Banyan Tree. Do you remember the story till now? A boy describes a banyan tree, a small squirrel he made friends with from the banyan tree, the figs and the birds that come to eat the figs, his reading habits and all the other events that go on around the banyan tree. But on one particular day, on a particular afternoon, something very exciting happened. Now let's see what that is. That was the time I saw a mongoose and a cobra fight to death in the garden while I sat directly above them in the banyan tree. It was an April afternoon and the warm breezes of approaching summer had sent everyone, including grandfather, indoors. I was feeling drowsy myself and was wondering if I should go to the pond behind the house for a swim, when I saw a huge black cobra gliding out of a clump of cactus and making for some cooler part of the garden. At the same time, a mongoose, whom I had often seen, emerged from the bushes and went straight for the cobra. So what is that paragraph saying? It was an April afternoon, which means it was very hot. And since it was hot, everyone went indoors. But the boy was sitting on top of the banyan tree. He was feeling drowsy, which means he was feeling sleepy, and he wanted to go and have a bath in the pond near his home. But while thinking of that, he suddenly saw a cobra gliding from a cactus. It was finding a place which was more cooler, where it could rest. But when the cobra came into sight, a mongoose also jumped out of the bushes straight to the cobra. So there a fight must have begun. In a clearing beneath the tree, in bright sunshine, they came face to face. Cobra knew only too well that the grey mongoose, 3 feet long, was a superb fighter, clever and aggressive. But the cobra was skillful and an experienced fighter too. He could move swiftly and strike with the speed of light, and the sacs behind his long sharp fangs were full of deadly venom. It was to be a battle of champions. So the cobra knew that the mongoose, which was 3 feet long, was a very aggressive and clever fighter. Aggressive means ready to fight. But the cobra himself was skillful and could move swiftly, which means fastly, and strike. So this battle was between two very strong combatants. Hissing defiance, his forked tongue darting in and out, the cobra raised 3 of his 6 feet off the ground and spread his broad spectacled hood. The mongoose bushed his tail. The long hair on his spine stood up. In the past, the very thickness of his hair had saved him from bites that would have been fatal to others. Here, the writer describes all the characters of the cobra in one sentence. Hissing defiance. Hissing is the sound that snakes make, and defiance is the resistance that the snake shows against the mongoose. His forked tongue darting in and out. You see, a snake's tongues are not a single piece. They are forked, which means they are divided into 2. It was darting in and out, which means It had a sudden motion inwards and outwards. The cobra raised 3 of its 6 feet. So the cobra was 6 feet long and it raised 3 feet of that 6 feet off the ground and spread his broad spectacled hood. Spectacled hood is nothing but the design of a spectacle on the hood of an Asian cobra. The mongoose bushed his tail, which means the mongoose just had an ordinary tail and it bushed it up. It formed a bush-like shape, and the long hair on the spine stood up. These spines have helped the mongoose from snake bites in previous times. Though the combatants were unaware of my presence in the banyan tree, they soon became aware of the arrival of other 2 spectators. One was a myna and the other a jungle crow, not the woolly urban crow. They had seen these preparations for battle and had settled on the cactus to watch the outcome. Had they been content only to watch, all would have been well with both of them. Now, the boy was not the only spectator. There were other 2, a crow and a myna. They were ready on top of the cactus to witness the fight. And it says, had they been content only to watch, all would have been well with both of them. That means the cobra and myna must have tried to interfere in the fight. Let's see. The cobra stood on the defensive, swaying slowly from side to side, trying to mesmerize the mongoose into marking a false move. But the mongoose knew the power of his opponent's glassy, unwinking eyes and refused to meet them. Instead, he fixed his gaze at a point just below the cobra's hood and opened the attack. Here, the cobra tries to mesmerize, which means capture the attention of the mongoose by swaying or moving slowly side to side. It tries to make the mongoose look into its eyes so that it can deviate the mongoose's attention. But the mongoose, very clever, knows this trick of the cobra, so it does not look into the eyes straight. It keeps its gaze just below the cobra's hood, moving forward quickly until he was just within the cobra's reach. He made a feint to one side. Immediately, the cobra struck, his great hood coming down so swiftly that I thought nothing could save the mongoose. But the little fellow jumped neatly to one side and darted in as swiftly as the cobra, biting the snake on the back and darting away again out of reach. So, the mongoose approached the cobra and feinted towards a side, which means he pretended that he's moving to one side. So the cobra was foolish and he struck on that side. The boy thought no one could save the mongoose, but the clever mongoose darted towards the other side and bit the cobra on his back, and then he ran away. The moment the cobra struck, the crow and the myna hurled themselves at him, only to collide heavily in mid-air. Shrieking at each other, they returned to the cactus plant. As soon as the cobra struck, the crow and the myna that was sitting on top of the cactus hurled towards the cobra, which means they put all their force and jumped towards the cobra. But instead, they collided in mid-air, made a shrieking sound, and returned back to the cactus. A few drops of blood glistened on the cobra's back. The cobra struck again and missed. Again the mongoose sprang aside and jumped in and bit. Again the birds dived at the snake, bumped into each other instead and shrieking to the safety of the cactus. Now here the second round of the same process takes place. The cobra tries to strike again, the mongoose jumps away and bites his back. Meanwhile, the crow and the myna again jump towards the cobra, but they collide in mid-air again and return to the cactus, making a shrieking sound. The boy could see a few drops of blood glistening on the cobra's back, which means it was shining with light. Now the second round of the fight took place. The same process continued. The cobra tried and struck the mongoose, but the mongoose jumped away and bit the cobra's back again. Seeing this, the crow and the myna jumped towards the cobra. But as usual, they collided mid-air and they shriekingly went back to the cactus. With that, we are summarizing today's session. The boy was drowsy one afternoon and he wanted to go take bath in a pond. But before that, he noticed a cobra and a mongoose ready to fight. There were also other two spectators, a crow and a myna. As the fight went further, the crow and the myna interrupted. Now let's see what happens in the next class. Hope you've understood this session. If you have any doubts or suggestions, please leave it in the comment box. Thank you.